Welcome to Pesto Comics Audio Edition. This is the entry for June 11th, 2025. Finally tabling at the Toronto Comic Arts Festival. Welcome back. My original plan for this post was a vlog. The truth is, I don't have enough video to make it interesting. Most of the video is people milling about on the show floor. Another thing that held me back is keeping the schedule, doing a post every week, and it feels like a lot more than I can chew at times. I don't get to experiment so much with the format. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I see that the podcast numbers are going up more and more. A lot of people this weekend at TCAF who subscribe to the newsletter told me that their favorite part is that I actually read this as a podcast. That reason sounds good enough not to mess with the format. I'll keep reading this out to you if you keep listening. Expectations and trying to keep them in line is a really big theme of this week's post as I reflect on my time at the Toronto Comic Arts Festival, TCAF. Not to give it away, but I had a really good time. At first. A mix of fatigue and a couple concerning trends soured my experience by the end of the weekend. We'll get into all the details shortly. But first, Worklog Updates. This week, I did the following. Received print copies of From Parts Unknown number 3. Made basic updates to pestocomics.com. And got some words down for Project Hollywood. This is the plan for next week. Send out From Parts Unknown number 3. And the delayed enamel pins for From Parts Unknown number 2 and Naked Kaiju Woman. Table at the East Coast Comic Expo on the weekend. Hit my word count goals for Project Hollywood. And take a short break, enjoying lobster rolls and a slower pace in the Maritimes. Project updates. A couple standing action items to note, and an update for a highly anticipated project. Number 1. From Parts Unknown number 4 launches on June 25th. Follow the pre-launch page. Number 2, Big Smoke Pulp Volume 1 is available on Kindle Unlimited from now through August. We have 40 incredible stories from 40 excellent authors, including yours truly. And number 3, I received page 20 of 32 from Raphael for Naked Kaiju Woman number 2. We're on track for a launch this fall. I'll get the pre-launch page up for this as soon as possible. And now, the main story. Made it to the show. TCAF has long been a wishlist convention for me. I've been wanting to table here since I started as an independent creator. The fact that I made it into Thought Bubble before I made it into TCAF always felt strange to me, though I understand the novelty of a Canadian at Thought Bubble versus yet another hometown creator at TCAF. I found myself comparing the two conventions all weekend. They're very similar in goals and audience, even though they're a world away from one another. Both are focused on indies, though Thought Bubble does bring a couple of big names to try and draw attendees. They put those big names right at the back of the convention, forcing you to cross all of the indies on your way to get your latest issues of Batman or Daredevil signed by Chip Zdarsky. TCAF, on the other hand, is a free convention. Locally speaking, bigger conventions like Fan Expo Canada and Toronto Comic Con provide a barrier for those wishing to attend. Anyone can walk in and buy some indie comics at TCAF, in theory. You also see a lot more fellow indie creators coming to say hi than you would at Fan Expo. It becomes a very valuable networking event in that way. This year, there was a huge change to all of it. It now took place at the Mattamy Athletic Center, which is the former Maple Leaf Gardens. For hockey fans in attendance, it was really cool. I found myself in front of the visitors bench, where I would normally lace up my skates to play my Sunday Hockey League games. With the ice melted, we were on the hard concrete, which made it slightly uncomfortable, but a unique experience in many ways, both good and bad. The good. One of the best parts of nearly every convention I've been to is getting to meet the people I know online in the flesh. Sometimes it's folks I only get to see at conventions. The big bonus this time was that I was tabling next to a couple familiar faces in Steve Bynow of Comics Asylum and my Instant Ink comic book podcast collaborator, Roberto Villacava. I also got to meet new folks with the Silver Sprocket crew to my other side. It was also a great opportunity to hang out with my long-term friend, Dana Hennessy. By the way, his episode of the Instant Ink Comic Book Podcast just went live yesterday. Not only is it great to have him with me to help with setting up and tearing down, but he's an excellent salesman. A lot of times I would just defer to him as he pitched the comics so much better than I could have. It's always a good time hanging out with Dana. I'm looking forward to the next time we table together with the project, codenamed Project West, that we're both working on. It wasn't just the people directly around me that I got to catch up with. I won't list them all off in fear of missing some names, but there were a couple people I didn't expect to see. Jim Zub swung by the table and offered some great tips that I'll be carrying forward with my future conventions, plus offered some wonderful compliments for the work we had on display. I also got to meet Sam Cusack, Kickstarter's senior outreach lead for comics, face to face when mega editor Allison O'Toole brought him by. We learned a bit about opportunities for not only our comics, but other projects we're launching in the near future. Both Dana and I felt an extra jolt of motivation after chatting with Sam. I got to meet a few new fans who weren't familiar with my work at all, many of whom didn't frequent Kickstarter or weren't familiar with the platform. This served as a good reminder of why I do these conventions. One of the best parts of the new location, being at the bottom of an ice rink, was the arena bleachers surrounding us. Folks would go up to the bleachers and read the comics they just bought, and in a couple instances, I had new fans who would come down after having just read something of ours and wanting to pick up the rest of the series or something more from me. They're not so good. Although the bowl setting was neat and led to that benefit, the new location also brought in a different crowd than the library. Almost everyone I was talking to said it was their first time at TCAF, which was really cool, but at the same time you could tell that the reading habits were a lot different as well. A lot of folks just weren't interested in indie comics, which was very depressing. It wasn't the majority, but it was enough. For those that are a little more indie curious, I didn't get the same level of commitment that I have at other conventions, where people would dive in with both feet, buying the whole catalog. Given that the prices I charge at conventions are typically lower than that of a Kickstarter, I get to save on shipping and so on, so I passed that on. It was surprising. Given that the prices that I charge at conventions are typically lower than I charge on Kickstarter, it was surprising. I get to save on shipping and so on, and I pass that on. Folks were only willing to pick up one comic at a time in a lot of cases, many walking with 2 or 3 comics in hand. I wasn't moving product at the volume I had hoped. Even then, my goal is to create some new fans with this convention. I had free digest variants of Stay Cool available for anyone willing to join the Substack, and even that required a hard sell for a lot of people. At Thought Bubble, by comparison, I went home empty-handed of both full-sized and digest-sized comics. Even without something to trade for an email, people were eager to sign up. And yet, that wasn't the most disconcerting thing I found. A lot of budding artists came job hunting. Though I appreciate looking to make contacts and new friends, many just came to see if I was hiring cold, no portfolio to review, or even offers to join the newsletter. Some just wanted a job drawing comics based on their courage to ask for it. It showed that they didn't entirely understand what the deal is with indie creators at all. Again, this wasn't every artist. If you're reading or listening to this now, it clearly wasn't you, as you at least made the effort to connect. I'm always happy to help artists and fellow writers where I can. We're all in the struggle together. However, as an indie creator, I'm doing my best to make ends meet for my work. As much as I'd love to employ every artist I want to, coming to a table empty-handed and making no effort to connect doesn't get you high up on my list. And it's a long one already. I appreciate that we all have to learn somehow, but the volume of people who did this on the weekend, especially on the Sunday, did start to drag me down as the sales didn't keep up with expectations. Looking forward. All that said, I'm definitely going back next year. Whether I do it with a table or not is a different question. One of the things I regret most is not being able to leave my table very often to go talk to everyone I would see walking by, or I didn't see and knew had tables. The best part of any of these conventions is making connections. It's hard to do that when you're tethered to your table, trying to make the odd sale to make back your table cost. I didn't even accomplish that this time. With a lot of readers buying just one book at a time, it was a steep climb. Had I gone for a half table, I easily would have cleared my table fee. That's likely what I'll do next time around. The most surprising thing about this convention is that the high didn't last as long as it usually does. Seeing my friends, making new ones, and getting some encouragement from unexpected places barely lasted up until I hit the ice Sunday night for another hockey game. That was unusual to say the least. The good news is, I get to do it all over again this weekend at the East Coast Comic Expo. I have no expectations for this convention, as it'll be my first time there. My East Coast Comic Expo neighbor, Amelia Strilchuk, tells me that it's a fun show and that the people who organize it are pretty great people, so at least I don't think I'll be too disappointed. Plus, I get a nice vacation out of it as I'll be staying in the Maritimes for a week. It's somewhere I've never been before, so it'll be a great recharge. I'll come back next week with my reflections on that, hopefully feeling the buzz I missed out on this time. Until then, have you been to TCAF? Do you want to go? Do you feel the buzz after a good convention? Let me know in the comments. And now coming up on the Substack, Wednesday, June 18th, Con Journal, East Coast Comic Expo, my first time out to the Maritimes. And Saturday, June 21st, another paid post, The Truth Behind Tabling. Hello, come say hi, please. Wednesday, June 25th, our next free post, the launch of From Parts Unknown number 4 with The End from Parts Unknown number 4. Wrapping up From Parts Unknown with a double-sized conclusion. And then the following week on July 2nd, we have the postmortem for From Parts Unknown number 3, an in-depth look at the 8th Pesto Comics campaign. And with that, let's look at where you can find me in the coming weeks. I'll be tabling, as I've been saying, at the East Coast Comic Expo this Friday and Saturday in Moncton, New Brunswick at the Moncton Coliseum. And then in July, you can find me at Wayside Comics and Cocktails on July 19th. And if you miss me then, I'll come back to Wayside on September 13th. The same month, on September 27th and 28th, you can find me at Word on the Street. It looks like there's a location change for this. I have on the Substack that it's listed as Queen Park Circle, but we're actually moving to David Pico Square, which is actually right next to my old film school. So familiar territory for me there. I'm still on the wait list for Fan Expo Canada, Toronto Comic Con, and Calgary Expo. And I did get my tickets for New York Comic Con, so you can find me there on the Saturday and the Sunday. I won't be able to make it for the whole thing, but I did get tickets for Saturday and Sunday. Really looking forward to that. And what's coming up on the release calendar? As you know, From Parts Unknown number 4 comes out on June 25th. We also have the sequel to Naked Kaiju Woman, slated for September 10th. We're well on track for that to happen. And we have a tentative date for the next new series, Project Cut number 1, slated for January 7th. These are all subject to change. I'm still working on PestoComics.com, but soon you'll be able to pick up digital and physical copies on PestoComics.com if you missed out on any of the Kickstarters, though I always recommend checking out Kickstarter because I always have cool bundle deals there. And on the pulp writerly side of things, I'm working on Project Hollywood with a hope to launch on Kickstarter on August 6th. You can still find Big Smoke Pulp Volume 1 available on Kindle Unlimited until August, at which point we'll go wide and you'll be able to pick it up on pulpwriterly.com or on any of your usual digital vendors like Kobo, Apple Books, Google Books, and so on. And on the Instant Ink comic book podcast, we have my very good friend, Dana Hennessy. I've known him for at least a couple decades now. So it was a lot of fun catching up and talking about all things creative endeavors and getting a really cool page together. Something a lot different than we usually do. A lot more panels than we normally go for. So it was a really fun discussion. I always recommend checking it out on YouTube as you get the full video experience, but you can always listen to it on Spotify or really any podcasting service you can find. It's still good to listen to. And then what you do is you go to instantinkpodcast.xyz and look at the final page once that's up. So you still get the full experience, just in a different way if you prefer to listen to it as you're driving. And with that, I want to thank you for listening. It really does mean a lot. Once again, I'm late in getting this out. I think I'm just going to make this a regular thing. Not in terms of getting it late, but maybe just plan to get this post out rather than at noon. Maybe aim for 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that, so I don't feel this pressure of constantly being late, working through my lunch and all that, just to get this recording out. The recording is always seems to be what trips me up. I have them written well in advance, or at least close to it, and then the recording part is where I get tripped up because I'm usually on conference calls or doing all kinds of things all day that just takes up all my time. What held me up today is I am going to Moncton tomorrow, so I'm trying to pack, I'm trying to do laundry, and I'm trying to get everything packed up for From Parts Unknown number 3, so I can get that all in the mail before I leave myself tomorrow. So it's just a lot at once, but hey, that's part of the deal, so I'm not that upset. With that said, though, I'm not going to ramble on too long this time. Like I said, TCAF was a lot of fun, but I don't know, it just didn't stick the same way. And, not making table always burns a little bit. The table fees have gone up quite a bit, I guess, moving to a new venue. And because of that, I was really chasing them this time. I know that it used to be at least 20% or 30% less than it was this time around. And that 20 or 30% really would have made the difference for me making table this time. So kind of sucks in that way. But something to keep in mind. Maybe a half table is more than plenty. As much as I love the big display, maybe finding a way to condense that is the way to go. And frankly, most people don't even understand what the variants are. So I think maybe having the display in a way that doesn't showcase the variants as much, as everyone seems to think the variants are different issues of the same book. I think maybe hiding them behind and then using that as a way to draw people in and kind of showing them the different covers that I have available rather than taking up all the table space and confusing them with the sensory overload of so many different covers. Maybe the way to do it is to draw them in with a nice cover or two, and then kind of show them all of the options available once they're hooked. But who knows? I'm always experimenting with this way of doing things, so we'll see. I have some ideas for the East Coast Comic Expo this weekend. So if you're in New Brunswick, if you're in that part of the world, if you're in the Maritimes, by all means, come check it out. It should be a lot of fun. It's a much shorter convention than the ones I've been going to, so that should be refreshing too. It'll be over before I know it. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. So if you happen to be out there, by all means, come check it out. If not, we'll be talking about it next week. I'm going to try to write that post and record it while I'm in the airport and doing all that. So please forgive me if I'm a little late next week. I imagine that'll probably come out in the evening at best. But yeah, with that, I want to thank you for listening. I can't wait to be out in the Maritimes and relax a bit. And one of the biggest reasons being I get to come back recharged because there's some really cool projects that I'm working on that I want to get out there. So it's really important that I have the energy to do that. So I'm looking forward to the recharge that's coming this weekend. With that, I am rambling. I'm going in circles a little bit. I use this time to be packing. So I'll be doing just that. With that, I want to thank you. Have a wonderful week. We'll talk next time. Thanks.